The sky over Terra 4 was not sky anymore. It was a ceiling of steel and fire, thousands of warships blotting out the stars. The Vare Dominion's Annihilation fleet hung in orbit like an executioner's blade. The colony's streets emptied, its people huddled underground in shelters, whispering last prayers. No army stood in defense. No fleet rose from the surface. Only one figure moved toward the landing platform at the edge of the city. Captain Elias Rourke adjusted the collar of his worn jacket, boots crunching against the frost-rimmed metal. The wind carried the faint hum of alien engines overhead, a sound like thunder caged in glass. His pulse was steady. He had been chosen, not because he was the strongest or the smartest, but because he understood the theater of survival. Sometimes existence itself was a weapon. From orbit, the Vare sent their first emissary, a towering figure descending on a column of light. Its armor gleamed like obsidian, curved horns jutting from its helm. The alien's voice boomed across the empty plaza. "Human colony Terra 4, it declared, you are surrounded by the Dominion's fleet. Your extinction is inevitable. Submit and be erased with order, or resist and be erased with agony." Rourke didn't flinch. He let the silence stretch until the alien shifted, armor plates clicking. Then he tilted his head, squinting up at the warships blanketing the heavens. "That's it?" Rourke asked. "This is your grand entrance? I've seen more intimidating bands at county fairs." The emissary's head jerked, confused. "You mock the Dominion?" "I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed," Rourke replied. He spread his arms wide. "You've brought enough firepower to sterilize a planet, and all you found waiting was me. One man. Doesn't that feel a little embarrassing?" The alien's throat hissed with what might have been anger. It took a step forward, towering above him. "You presume your existence matters." "Exactly," Rourke said. His smile was thin, deliberate. "That's why I'm here." The words rippled through the Vare like a static charge. For all their dominance, they weren't used to prey staring back without fear. Moments later, light enveloped Rourke, pulling him into the void. He emerged aboard the Dominion's flagship, lungs adjusting instantly to recycled air tinged with iron. The chamber he entered was vast, built like a cathedral, walls pulsing with alien glyph. Hundreds of armored Vare stood at attention, their forms a uniform tide of menace. At the far end of the hall sat High Executor Valek on a throne of black alloy, taller than the rest, his eyes glowing cold blue. His voice rumbled like an avalanche. "This is the champion humanity sends? One fragile body to face the weight of the Dominion." Rourke's boots echoed as he walked forward, unhurried. He stopped at the center, looking up at the executor. "One body, yeah. But you're mistaken if you think that makes me fragile." The chamber stirred with laughter, sharp, metallic, dismissive. Valek's mandibles curved in amusement. "Explain yourself," the executor demanded. Rourke scanned the crowd deliberately before answering. "You see weakness when you look at us. Small bones, soft flesh, short lives. And yet," he pointed skyward, "you had to bring an entire fleet to deal with us. Doesn't that tell you something?" Murmurs rippled through the ranks. Valek's laughter ceased. "Arrogance," he said flatly. "Perspective," Rourke countered. "You've fought species that break easy, that fold under pressure. But humans," he tapped his chest, "we're a mess of scars and stubbornness. We shouldn't exist, not after everything we've been through on our own world, disease, wars, disasters. Yet here we are. That's what unsettles you. You don't understand how something so breakable refuses to stay broken." The executor leaned forward, voice low. "You believe survival makes you special?" "No," Rourke said, steady. "I believe survival makes us dangerous." The words landed like a blade on stone. Silence followed, heavy and taut. Even the humming walls seemed to pause. The executor rose, towering over the chamber. His shadow fell across Rourke. "Do you know what awaits your kind? Fire that will erase not just your colonies, but your history. The Dominion devours entire civilizations without a second thought. Rourke raised his eyes, unflinching. Then you've never faced one like ours. You mistake endurance for defiance, but you'll learn the truth soon enough. Humans don't fight to win. We fight to exist. And that's the one thing you can't take from us. The crowd stirred, restless. The executor sensed the shift but masked it with fury. You will kneel before the Dominion, Valek thundered. Not today, Rourke answered. His voice was calm, almost conversational, but it carried across the hall like a spark through dry brush. The alien warriors stared. They expected pleading, terror, bargaining. Instead, they saw a man who treated their overwhelming power as an inconvenience. And in that moment, a seed of doubt took root. Rourke clasped his hands behind his back, posture relaxed. So here I am. One man. No weapons, no army. Just existing. And look how it rattles you. The chamber hissed with alien whispers, their tones uneasy. The executor's eyes burned with anger, but beneath it flickered something he would never admit: uncertainty. Rourke smiled faintly, knowing he had achieved his first victory without firing a shot. The command deck of the human flagship, Resolute Dawn, was silent except for the hum of systems. Hundreds of crew members leaned over consoles, eyes fixed on the tactical display. Beyond the reinforced glass of the observation canopy, the alien fleet stretched like a wall of steel and fire, dozens of warships bristling with weapons, engines glowing with contained fury. The Vare Dominion had brought their Annihilation armada. By all measures, it should have been humanity's end. Instead, Earth had chosen to send one man to greet them. Adrian Cole stood at the center of the deck, his hands clasped calmly behind his back. He was not a soldier in the traditional sense, no gleaming armor, no medals pinned to his chest. Just a simple dark uniform, a badge of Earth's diplomatic corps stitched over the heart. His presence radiated something the crew couldn't name, composure laced with defiance. Status? Adrian asked, his voice steady. Enemy fleet holding position, sir, replied Lieutenant Harris from communications. Their flagship is broadcasting demands. They want immediate planetary surrender. Adrian nodded. Patch them through. The main view screen flared to life, showing the alien commander. Tall, reptilian features framed by ceremonial armor, eyes burning gold with contempt. This was High Marshal Karith, the Dominion's most feared warlord. His voice, translated into English, rolled like thunder. Humans, Karith sneered, you face extinction. We have destroyed empires greater than yours. Do not delude yourselves into thinking you are special. Surrender, and your suffering will be brief. A hush swept across the human deck. Even seasoned officers shifted uneasily under the weight of the alien's presence. Adrian stepped forward, hands still behind his back, posture unshaken. His reply was deliberate, each word carefully measured. High Marshal Karith, he said, on behalf of Earth, I welcome you. You claim you've destroyed empires greater than ours. Tell me, he paused, letting the silence stretch, did they all look like us? The question seemed to hang in the air, bizarrely out of place. Confusion rippled across the alien commander's expression. Karith leaned closer to the view screen. What nonsense is this? Adrian smiled faintly. I'm asking if the enemies you've crushed before looked anything like humans. Because if not, perhaps you've made a mistake assuming this war will be like all the others. Karith snarled, his teeth bared. You are one man standing before an armada. You think words will save you. Adrian tilted his head, his tone sharpening. Not words. Truth. You see, we humans are different. We're stubborn, reckless, and inventive in ways you won't anticipate. You came expecting compliance. Instead, you'll find resistance that doesn't make sense in your strategies. You'll learn why your empire mocks at its own peril. The alien's eyes narrowed. You will regret this arrogance. The screen cut abruptly, replaced with tactical readings. Their fleet was shifting into attack formation. The crew of the Resolute Dawn braced for orders. All eyes turned to Adrian, Signal every ship, he commanded. Maintain defensive posture. Do not fire unless I give the word. The officers exchanged bewildered glances. Sir, Harris said carefully, their weapons are charging. If we don't strike first. They expect fear, Adrian cut in. We give them patience. A tense stillness filled the deck. Outside, the alien armada swarmed, vast and menacing. The contrast was surreal, one calm human against an ocean of firepower. Minutes dragged like hours until the Dominion opened their first volley. Energy beams streaked through the void, slamming into human shields. The ship trembled, but the barriers held. Alarms blared, yet Adrian's voice cut through the noise. Steady. Hold formation. On the enemy flagship, Karith leaned forward, frustrated. Why aren't they breaking? He hissed. His aide, a younger officer, studied the humans. Their commander, he isn't reacting. He's provoking you. Karith slammed his clawed fist into the armrest. Then let him watch as his fleet burns. Back aboard the Resolute Dawn, Adrian finally gave a quiet nod. Now, return fire. The void erupted with human retaliation. Railguns spat slugs faster than light, missiles cut elegant arcs, and concentrated laser fire lanced through the Dominion's outer rank. The humans didn't fight recklessly. They fought with precision, targeting weak points no Dominion commander would have thought vulnerable. Within minutes, one of the Dominion cruisers erupted in flames. Another staggered, engines crippled. The crew gasped, not from fear but from disbelief. Adrian allowed himself the faintest smirk. And that, he murmured, is your first lesson. The tactical officer turned toward him. Sir, how did you know we'd strike like that? Because I've studied them, Adrian replied. The Vair rely on intimidation. Their arrogance blinds them to details. They expect us to panic, to scatter. Instead, we make every shot count. Humans don't win by matching power, we win by refusing to play the game on their terms. The battle continued, furious and chaotic. The Dominion pressed harder, but cracks in their formation widened under the humans' relentless precision. For every human vessel damaged, 2 Dominion ships faltered. Still, the cost was high. A frigate on the left flank exploded, fragments spiraling across the stars. Adrian's jaw tightened, but he didn't waver. Signal their flagship again, he ordered. Karith reappeared, his expression a mix of rage and disbelief. Smoke and sparks hissed in the background of his command deck. You think this means anything? You've only delayed the inevitable. Adrian's gaze was sharp. Maybe. But tell me, Marshal, when was the last time one of your inevitable victories bled this much? Caritha's growl was guttural, primal. You dare. Adrian leaned closer, his voice quiet but cutting. We're not done yet. And I promise you this. Humanity will make you regret every ship you send against us. You came here expecting surrender. What you'll get instead is a war that will haunt your empire. The channel cut again, but this time it was the Dominion commander who severed it. Adrian exhaled slowly, then turned back to his officers. We've shown them humanity's greeting. Now we prepare for the storm. The crew erupted into motion, their fear burned away, replaced with something stronger, resolve. For the first time, the Dominion had met humans not as victims, but as equals standing in defiance. And for Adrian Cole, this was only the beginning. The Dominion fleet had regrouped, their lines closing like jaws around the human formation. On the command deck of the Resolute Dawn, tension ran like a current through every crew member. Yet at the center, Adrian Cole stood steady, a pillar in the storm. Reports streamed in, shields failing on the right flank, ammunition running low across several frigates. The Dominion was bleeding, but humanity was bleeding faster. If something didn't shift, sheer numbers would crush them. Lieutenant Harris's voice cracked through the noise. Sir, they're tightening the net. We won't hold another hour. Adrian's gaze locked on the tactical map. His expression didn't waver, but his mind raced. Numbers couldn't win this. But humans had never been defined by numbers. Signal engineering, Adrian ordered. Prepare to divert all non-essential power to railguns and forward shields. We'll burn out systems if we must. The tactical officer hesitated. Sir, that risks crippling the ship? Adrian's tone was steel. We're not here to play safe. We're here to prove humanity won't be broken. The officer swallowed hard, then nodded. Yes, sir. The deck shifted as power rerouted. Lights dimmed, the hum of life support thinned, but weapons glowed brighter than ever. The Dominion advanced, confident in overwhelming force. They had fought dozens of species who clung desperately to survival before being erased. They expected the same ending here. Instead, they were met with defiance. Fire at will, Adrian commanded. Railguns thundered, their slugs ripping through space with unstoppable momentum. Missiles streaked like furious comet. Lasers carved surgical lines across enemy hulls. The Dominion formation reeled as ships collapsed under precision fire. But victory wasn't yet in reach. Karith appeared again on the main view screen, fury twisting his reptilian features. Behind him, chaos raged, officers shouting, sparks flying. You cannot win, Karith roared. Even if you destroy this fleet, the Dominion has thousands more. You are ants before the storm. Adrian stepped closer, his face calm, his voice quiet but cutting. Maybe. But tell me, Marshal, how many storms can your empire afford before it breaks? Karith snarled. You gamble with extinction. Adrian's eyes didn't flinch. And you gamble with underestimating us. The channel snapped shut. The battle surged again, more brutal than before. Human ships fought like cornered wolves, every strike savage, every maneuver desperate but brilliant. A Dominion dreadnought loomed ahead, its cannons locking on the resolute Dawn. If its salvo struck, the flagship would disintegrate. Adrian turned to navigation. Bring us in close. Right under its guns. The navigator's jaw dropped. Sir, that's suicide. Adrian's reply was sharp. It's survival. Move. The resolute Dawn surged forward, engines screaming. Beams meant to destroy them blasted harmlessly into empty space as they slipped beneath the dreadnought's firing arc. Target engines. Full salvo. The ship shuddered as railguns and missiles tore into the enemy's underbelly. The dreadnought convulsed, its engines erupting in fire before the entire vessel cracked apart, spilling debris across the stars. Cheers erupted on the human deck. But Adrian didn't smile. His eyes tracked the larger picture. The Dominion still held the advantage, but their aura of inevitability was fracturing. They bleed like anyone else, Adrian said softly, though loud enough for the crew to hear. And once their fear outweighs their pride, they'll run. The prediction unfolded sooner than expected. Cracks spread in the Dominion lines. Damaged ships pulled back. Some captains hesitated, breaking formation. The mighty Annihilation fleet began to falter. Inside the Dominion flagship, Karith slammed his fist into the console. Cowards! Hold the line! But even his officers shifted uneasily. One whispered, Marshal, they fight as if death means nothing. We can't predict them. They don't stop. Caritha's glare silenced him, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Back aboard the resolute Dawn, alarms screamed as another barrage rocked the hull. Fires erupted across the lower deck. Still, Adrian's voice was calm. Status. Critical damage across 2 sections, Harris reported. But the fleet is holding. Sir, they're pulling back. Adrian exhaled slowly, his shoulders easing just slightly. Maintain pressure. Make sure they know retreat isn't dishonor, it's survival. The Dominion ships began to scatter, engines blazing as they retreated from the engagement zone. One by one, the icons vanished from the tactical display until only wreckage and silence remained. The crew stared in disbelief. Against impossible odds, the Annihilation fleet had been driven back. Lieutenant Harris whispered, We actually held them. Adrian finally allowed himself a faint smile. No, Lieutenant. We showed them humanity. The deck erupted in cheers, raw relief washing over battle-weary faces. But Adrian's eyes lingered on the stars where the Dominion had fled. He knew this wasn't over. "They'll be back," he said quietly, more to himself than to anyone else. "With more ships, with more fury. But now, they'll come knowing we're not prey." He turned to the crew, his voice steady, carrying weight beyond the walls of the ship. "Remember this day. They came expecting surrender. They left learning what it means to fight humanity. Every battle from now on will be harder, but every one of us has proven we are harder still." Silence fell, reverent and fierce. The crew stood taller, no longer crushed by fear but lit by pride. The Dominion had met humanity, and for the first time they had retreated. For Adrian Cole, it was more than survival. It was the beginning of a legend.